morning, welcome to another weekly update outside again because it's a lovely day, so sorry about any of the wind noise, but definitely worth it to get out and get outside for a little bit. So not loads of things happening this week, but that's good because it means I can go on an extended talk about some of the things. So let's cover off the sort of big news quickly. So first of all, next week is Commsverse, and so this week I did a video all about what to expect at Commsverse and things like the times and the tickets and the sessions and the tracks and the speakers. I actually did it. I went to our local Mercedes-Benz dealership and filmed it there, which was kind of weird, and ended up with a kind of weird video. But I was really kind of trying to channel some of the energy from the cars and seeing all the cars, because it's always a really good event, because not only is the tech content really good, actually you're surrounded by all these amazing cars as well, and that's really kind of cool to see. So you can definitely go and check that out. That is something that's happening. That's on my YouTube channel right now, so you can go check that out. Just trying to get me out of the direct sun that's right in my face. There we go. That's on my YouTube channel, so you can go check that out. The other reason to check that out is in there is a kind of a 10-15 minute interview with Mark Vail, who is the founder of Commsverse, so don't miss that because that was really interesting. I just wanted to talk to Mark, not really through the what and the where and the when, but more the how and the why. Why Commsverse, why it's unique, his thoughts on a hybrid conference, and things like that. So if that sounds interesting, you can go and check that out and get his views ahead of Commsverse next week. If you're attending, it's worth a watch to sort of so you know what's coming, and also to get Mark's view of the world as well. So that's happening. Other things that happen this week. So there's a community branch of Company Communicator. So Company Communicator is one of the app templates that Microsoft Teams has, that the Microsoft Teams team have put out. And it's free to use, Company Communicator. You can go and download it. There is a kind of a community fork that Cristiano is looking after, and he's been doing this for a while, and he's added some really great features. Anyway, there's a new update for version 5.1 that matches kind of the recent updates to Company Communicator. So there's a new edition, if you like, a new version of the community fork. The reason I'm telling you this is that if you want to upgrade, there are some migration steps to go through. There is some work to do, just to be aware of. So just so you know, that's the thing. There's a migration guide. Just be aware of that. If that sounds interesting. If you've never heard of the kind of community fork of the Company Communicator, it's worth having a look at, especially if you already use Company Communicator. Actually, it's definitely worth having a look at because it's very good, and it's got lots of interesting, useful new features that people have been asking for from Company Communicator that are not currently in the main line. So that might be interesting to you. The other big thing from this week that I really did want to talk through and use kind of the rest of this time to talk to you about is Viva Sales. So Viva Sales was announced last week as a kind of a sales dashboard for salespeople, built kind of with integrations to Dynamics 365, but potentially other CRMs, and then accessible in Teams and in Outlook, and I think maybe other places as well. As a kind of one-stop shop, an easy way to access sales leads and kind of that integration into existing communication. And there's lots of buzz on the kind of on LinkedIn about it. And yeah, so what are my thoughts? So first of all, this isn't necessarily a new development opportunity. I didn't see lots of announcements around development capabilities around Viva Sales. But the reason I'm talking to it is I do think it is interesting. If you go look at the video about what Viva Sales actually is and kind of see it in action, and there's some demo videos so you can kind of see what it actually is a collection of the existing development extensibility points that we already have. So things like tabs in Teams, things like those extensions in Outlook now that I've talked about at length, the way you can take a Teams application and expose it in Outlook. All of those things are currently there today. What Microsoft have done is taken them and then wrapped them kind of together put a bow on them and called them a thing, and called them a product, and said, look, this is Viva Sales. And it's in some ways it's nothing more than a collection of existing ways to extend those products, and it's not new extension capability, but it is kind of interesting because it shows that what you can do, and it shows in a way what it means to be a Microsoft 365 product today. I think taking those extensibility points and not just using one or two of them, but using 3, 4, 5 of them together to create a product experience, I think that is what it means to make a product today on Microsoft 365. And I think that's interesting, and it's also interesting that Microsoft are doing it. Microsoft are kind of, you could argue that they're doing it because maybe partners aren't doing it, or you could say maybe they're doing it to show partners how it could be done as like a template. But I think it's interesting Microsoft is doing it at all. Lots of people are saying it could work with other CRMs as well as Dynamics 365, and yes, Microsoft do say that. They kind of say it fairly like it could rather than it's going to. So I feel like it's going to be something that if you wanted to extend it and make it work with your CRM of choice, you could do, but I don't think Microsoft are going to do it for you. I think that's going to be left as an extensibility point. It will be interesting to see how this gets packaged, whether it's going to be a Teams app that also works in Outlook, and that's how it's going to happen, or whether it's going to be more open source, a bit like an app template. I feel like if they want to make it work with any CRM, then they are going to have to open source elements of it, or at least make it interoperable, because they're going to have to, you're going to have to unplug Dynamics and plug in whatever it is your thing is. So they're going to need those kind of points of extensibility there. So they might actually go the whole hog and open source the whole thing. That would be interesting. But yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting, because it's a good example actually of taking what's there existing. I hear like a lot of the time developers kind of moaning that there aren't enough extensibility points, or they can't do what they want to do. I think it takes a different type of thinking building products now. I think it's about fusing together lots of little developments into kind of one overall experience. Does that make sense? Microsoft are really trying to reduce context switching, and I've talked about this at length. I talked about this 5, 6, 7 years ago when I talked about the original inception of what became Teams. Before it was Link, before it was Skype, before it was Link, before it was OCS, with Bill Gates. Those stories around context switching, I feel like Microsoft are again trying to solve the context switching problem, but it's a different context now, where the challenge we have now is switching between lots of different applications to get our work done, and Microsoft are trying to reduce the friction there of switching applications. Now their answer to that is, bring everything into Teams, and then you never need to leave Teams. I think that's evolved into you never need to leave Teams or Outlook, because I think Outlook is still a very important place for lots of people. But I think this idea of bringing data to people so it's at their fingertips when they need it isn't new, but I think Microsoft are doubling down on it, and you're seeing that now in some of these things. So I think that's interesting. I think Viva Sales, as if you're a developer in this space, it is worth going to look at to see what's possible. I'm not suggesting you roll it out for your sales team or anything, but I do think it's worth looking at to see, okay, like I could, anybody could build Viva Sales today. There's no magic sauce, I don't think, in what Microsoft are doing. It's all done using the existing extensibility points and existing tools. So technically, I think anybody could do that themselves if they wanted to. So it was interesting to kind of see what's possible and get some ideas for like how different extensibility points could sort of join together. All right, that's everything for me. Again, reminder, Commsverse is next week. Don't miss that. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will see you again next time.